Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fourth C.R.E.A.T.E webinar. I'm very pleased to see all of you in here today on Thursday evening. Your presence is very crucial, and your participation is a source of encouragement for us to continue this program. Um, I'm Bashar Musa. I'm the program director, and I'm very pleased to see all of you today in the webinar. I think it is very important to keep mentioning that this program is a product of a very successful collaboration between University of Sharjah and the Emirati Diabetes and Endocrine Society. We're working very hard to bring to you the research expert and the people who been working in this field for a long time so that we can learn from their experiences and we can share with them our thoughts and our challenges, and we get the benefit out of all these discussions. Just, a few instructions to make sure that the webinar is running in a very smooth way. So the webinar from now on is live streamed on the EDSES YouTube channel. And also the webinar will be available on demand on the EDES Institute. For all your questions, please feel free to post it at any point in the chat box or the Q&A box, and I will be very happy to share it with our amazing speaker for today, Prof. Rabia. So the webinar series will be CME accredited. All the participants who attended the sessions in the series will receive CME credits upon completion of the final webinar. Details will be sent to your registered emails addresses, so please be tuned and pay attention to our emails so that you can get the CME's credits after the final webinar. It gives me a huge pleasure and a very special pleasure today to introduce Prof. Rabia Halawani, who is currently the Director of Research and Talent at the Health and Wellbeing sector in NEOM in Saudi Arabia. He's a distinguished professor of immunology, and we were so lucky to have him as our former Director of Research Institute for Medical and Health Sciences at University of Sharjah. During his journey at the University of Sharjah, he played a very significant role in shaping the research landscape at the university. He serves in different dean's councils, research boards, and scientific councils at the University of Sharjah. In addition, he contributes significantly in attracting top-tier research talent at a university. He established advanced research infrastructure and developed transformative research strategy for medical and health sciences. And I strongly believe that his leadership and his efforts were an important part of our university being ranked as the first university in research in UAE. Prior his joining UAE and University of Sharjah, Prof. Halawani held several key academic and research leadership positions at King Saud University in Riyadh, including Associate Director of the College of Medicine Research Center. He was a member of the board of the Deanship of Scientific Affairs and Scientific Director of Prince Knife Center for Immunology Research. Prof. Halawani research focused in immunology regulation, development of novel therapeutic strategies for chronic respiratory diseases and primary immunodeficiencies, as well as vaccine development. He authored over 275 publications in high-impact journals, and he supervised a large number of master's and PhD students who currently themselves are holding a prominent academic and research positions in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, and around the world. His contribution in science and academia have been recognized by several prestigious awards, including King Saud University Award for Scientific Excellence, Sanduq Al-Watan Research Award, Mohammed bin Rashid Medical Research Award, and C.R.E.A.T.E Award for Strategic Performance. In addition to all of that, I'm very happy to say that Prof. Rabi', he's a amazing and humble person. He's very collaborative, very supportive researcher, and it gives me a great pleasure today to introduce him. And I would like to say to him, thank you very much for sparing 1 hour on Thursday to be with us today. He will be talking to us today about discover and share. What is the power of publishing and sharing research outcome? Prof. Rabia, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bashair, for the nice introduction. You immersed me in your kindness and a very nice, complimentation and a very nice word. Thank you so much. It gives me actually a great pleasure to be with you today in this very, exciting initiative, the C.R.E.A.T.E initiative, who became, I believe, a platform to bring to the larger audience, healthcare service providers, as well as researchers, very exciting and interesting topics. So thank you again for the invitation, and I hope I can, have some touch on the very exciting topic today, which is about research and the research process for our colleagues. And I hope that this would open venues for them to get more excited about research and get more even involved, and hopefully to induce the impact that we all hope to have for the healthcare system, especially in this beloved country, UAE. Let me first share my slide. This is the one. Yeah. Is this?
Yeah. Yeah, we can see it clearly. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so again, this topic is I would see a very interesting opportunity to share some of some of our thoughts about the research process. And I was glad to see that you've called it the power of discovery, or the power of research, which makes it a very timely topic, given really the now we are living in an era where the power of knowledge overcome every other power that is known to humanity, really. And of course, as you know, knowledge stems from research, so it becomes very important for us to better understand this process, and hopefully to get more involved into research. Okay, so I always like to think about research as a journey. It starts actually with the spark of an idea in the mind of a researcher who gets so excited about that idea, and not only because of he's excited about the idea itself. He becomes excited even about the journey to achieve that idea, and of course the impact that he would love to see when this idea transforms into into reality and into a positive impact, in our case on our healthcare system, our patient, or our community. This excitement is, in many cases, is very similar to the excitement of a child going into his dream, trip, where he would love to not only he would be excited about the getting there, getting to his dreamland, or that is shown here in the picture, but also he would be excited to even enjoy the journey itself. And this is what happens to usually researcher when such an idea sparks in his mind. Now, the road differs actually from one project or one idea to another. And the road that you see here is the research process itself. How to proceed with the research, the research journey from taking the idea into a positive impact. And again, at the beginning, the researcher would believe or would think that this would be very smooth. But in many cases, it turns out to be a challenging path that requires an expert eye throughout the process to make sure that he goes through that process in a very smooth way until he either achieves the impact he hoped for or at least contribute to that impact. Now, this roadmap is what we will dive deep into in this session, discussing the different processes or the different steps of the research process. However, I'd like to highlight one important point here, is that the fact that this research journey is usually very enjoyable by researchers. And this is mainly not because it's an easy journey, but because in general, we are all consumers of knowledge, right? So only researchers are producers of knowledge. And this understanding or this feeling gives a huge level of satisfaction and pride to the researcher that really fuels his energy to continue throughout this map or roadmap till he gets, or at least, as I said, contributes to the impact he wants to see in his career. So with all of that, let's start by, again, diving into these research concepts and principles to better understand the research journey. To start with, what is research? So research is the cornerstone of every knowledge that we are enjoying today. Since the existence of humanity, all the knowledge that we've accumulated, it stemmed actually from one type of research or another. However, research is not a haphazard or a random process. It's a very systematic process, And this makes it easy to follow and sometimes challenging as well, as we will see as we go throughout this seminar today. So this systemic process starts with, again, the idea that sparks in the mind of the researcher, which we call the research question. And usually, this research question need to be, built in a way that is very precise and very feasible, I would say, for the researcher. And as the researcher is building this research question, fine-tuning it, he comes up with what we call a hypothesis. And we will again describe all of this in details. The next step is testing this hypothesis or testing this research question that the researcher is interested in investigating. And then usually we're doing that with careful observation or with sometimes experimental approach or interventional experimental approach. The next step is to collect all the findings out of this research activity and analyze it, digest it, and try to come up with conclusions that he or she would share with the larger scientific community and the public in general. But before going into deeper into the different steps of the research process, what are the general characteristics of scientific research? There are many actually, but I've I listed here the most important ones. There are no research usually without controlling for all the external variables that may affect your findings. So a control element is always necessary for any research activity. The other important characteristics is the systematic approach that we've just mentioned, operationalism, meaning researchers usually follow a specific, a very well set, very well structured approach throughout their research activity, using even standardized and validated tools for all their research activity. And the third important characteristic is the replication. No actually research or finding is valid until it is replicated. And the more replication of that research finding, the more confidence brings to these findings, which transform that research question or hypothesis from being a hypothesis into a theory. The more replication happens, the more that hypothesis gets closer to being a theory that is accepted by the wider scientific community. Okay, so what are the different steps of the research process? So I'm gonna give an overall view about that because diving deep into each one of this would require a lecture by itself or a seminar by itself. So I'm going to give an overall view given the diversity of the audience that I expect, and I'm going to wrap up at the end by focusing on the other important element, which is the impact, how to capture the impact and how to monitor the impact. So to start with, as we mentioned, research questions is the first of all. Everything starts with this, with the excitement, with the idea that comes into the mind of our researcher or investigator, and usually developing research questions happens through several processes. The first one, or the most common one, and the most, I would say, the most old one is observation. Okay, since again the existence of humanity, observation has been the main source of knowledge and of research and developing research questions. The second way of developing a research question is by experience. I would give a quick example here. I got a student, a master's student, who had an IBD. That was probably 6-7 years back, who had an IBD, and he noticed that whenever he drinks camel milk, his IBD is relieved for a month or two. So he came to me, and with this exciting, research question in mind, that he has experienced this, and he wants to investigate that. Why is that? What could be the reason of that, and how can we benefit from that? So experience is usually a very important source of developing a research question. The third source is the scientific, usually very well structured, very well reputable scientists within a field would ideally have accumulated a huge amount of knowledge around that area. And usually they come up with questions that are very legitimate and very needed to solve some mysteries around that area. And usually they report that in either an editorial or a review article, which in most of the cases is grasped by junior scientists as as an exciting and important research question. So key scientific figures are usually also a good source for good research questions. reading literature, getting very involved in research in discussions about research throughout media or research communities will also trigger some of these probably exciting research questions that may come in mind. Again, building experience and knowledge about the topic will definitely help in that. And of course, rationalism, which we use a lot in our experimental approach, especially in labs. Reasoning, we use that a lot in trying to develop research questions as we do our experiments. Now, a research question, it's very important to be focused, to be specific, and to be feasible or researchable, okay? And we will give an example about that in a second. Now, a good research question should answer the so what question. And this is, I mean, you can try that even with your master's student or PhD student. They may come up with exciting, very excited about an idea, and you just challenge them with this question, so what? And they need, if they really understand their research question, they need to tell you about how novel this research question is, how interesting, how feasible, how relevant to their area of expertise and your area of expertise if you're mentoring them, and how ethical is this research question. So any research question need to follow this NIFR rule, okay? If it fulfills all of these elements, then yes, this could be a good research question to work on or to investigate. And usually, when you think of a research question, it usually comes very broad, and then you start refining that or narrowing it by doing lots of literature review. An example of a broad research question would be, for example, diabetes medications reduce diabetes incidence in high-risk individuals. So this is a very broad statement. What diabetes medication, we don't know. Which high-risk population, we don't know. So many things is very general here. So this is definitely not a good research question that need to be refined. And to refine that, we go to literature and we dive into literature trying to better understand the field itself, the gaps in knowledge, and not only reading and understanding, but also evaluating, analyzing, and sometimes criticizing. We need to get to a level to understand whether what is known about that topic is really validated and can't be questioned. Because if it is, then there is a room for you to add to this knowledge, and you may identify lots of gaps where you can contribute to that knowledge through. So, as I said, you start by a general research question and you start reading about it in literature. And as you're reading, as you're criticizing literature, as you're looking into what you have, your resources, etc., you start refining your research question until it becomes a one that you can really start working with. Okay, and if that happens, then you have what we call now a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is it actually explains the phenomenon that you want to investigate. But a very important characteristic of hypothesis is it need to be very specific. So you need within that hypothesis to identify key elements that you are gonna need to identify very early on to be able to really move on with your investigation, such as cohort time, etc. It need to be testable. Okay, you may ask the best question you may think of. However, you may not have the tools or the logistics to be able to test it. So you won't go this direction. So it's a good hypothesis need to be specific, testable. It needs to have all the variables that you may investigate, as well as it would also predict the outcome that you are hoping to achieve, the impact that you want to at the end to either contribute to or to see out of your research. So a good hypothesis now, after refining that question, would be, for example, metformin reduces risk of diabetes in young obese pre-diabetics more than elderly ones. Okay, so now we know what medication, we know what's the risk that we're gonna chase. We know what's the cohort, what's the population. We know many different elements that allow us to really start our investigation process. Now, after you develop your hypothesis, now you're ready to start putting a structure to your research, journey, which we call a research proposal. Okay, and this is extremely important. Many people does it because they want to apply for a grant, funding to support your research, but it is way more important than just to apply for a grant. It puts everything for you in together. Where I mean, doing that exercise, you need to clearly define your objectives, your aims and sub-aims or sub-objectives, and you need to design your methodology, your approach, methodological approach of how you're going to tackle this investigation and how you're going to do it, what type of methods you're going to use, what type of study design you're going to take, what are the patients and the cohort. So many different aspects need to be clearly written and identified within this huge proposal that you define. What tools you're going to need to use, what are the materials, what personnel, do you have the time? I mean, you may be a master's student or a PhD student. You have very limited time to graduate. You have master's student 2 years. Will this be enough to do your project? You may be also limited to a certain funding availability, many different things. So after you do this exercise, you may realize that your hypothesis is way too ambitious relative to what you have. So you may refine this hypothesis to make it more feasible. Okay, so we keep doing that until you are ready. You master all the elements, and you can now move on into developing, or discussing that with after developing the methodology, discussing that with a biostatistician to make sure that the sample size that you are planning to have, the technique, the statistical techniques that that you're planning to use, everything is set and in place and appropriate to the question that you are trying to investigate. Only now you have finalized a very well-structured proposal. You cannot start doing your research. You have to submit that proposal to an IRB committee, which is the role of that IRB, and I believe we're going to have a full seminar about that. The role of that usually is to monitor your access to patients and to patient data and make sure that this access is legitimate and justified. Okay, sorry. So this is a very important step. You need to pass it through an IRB committee and get the approval, and only now you can start collecting data. And of course, you can analyze the data using the support of a biostatistician and writing a write-up publication. Now, this is again a very broad overview of the research process or steps. I mean, you may a very important or helpful element out of that is to involve throughout this process people who may have experience throughout this process, or either experience it themselves, or they are expert in that process, so that they may better guide you, because as I mentioned at the beginning, every research proposal may have a different map or roadmap for their for their investigation. Now, again, I would move now to give an overall idea about the general types of the clinical study design. In general, we have two main large groups of clinical studies: observational studies, where we don't have control. We just observe and record observations, and of course make conclusions out of these observations, or the experimental approach or interventional approach, where we usually intervene in different cohorts. We take a cohort or two, divide them into groups, and randomize them divide them randomly into different groups and do an intervention. And usually this intervention is preferred to be a blinded intervention. And of course, record all the outputs or outcomes out of this experimental interventional approach. Okay, so these are the two main large groups of clinical studies. When it comes to observational, a cohort study would be one of these very well common designs, where you try to establish a link between risk factor and a health outcome. And you can do a cohort study either prospectively, where you observe all of these healthcare determinants, I would say, at a longitudinal approach, or you can do it retrospectively. You get access to patients' data, and you try to extract this information and try to do this link between risk factors and health outcomes. So this is one of the main approaches that is that people usually follow in observational studies. The other one is cross-sectional, where you try to correlate the prevalence of a specific. Now you look at a very specific time in very specific point of time, and then you try to correlate the prevalence of a specific exposure to a specific health outcome or disease, and you try to make a conclusion out of that. Usually this is at the least of the validity score when it comes to clinical studies. The third approach is case control study, where you estimate the strength of association, usually between exposure and outcome. And usually you use that with retrospective studies. So here you're just building an association between the exposure and the disease development. And the second group of approach is the interventional approach. And of course, on top of the list is the clinical trials, the randomized clinical trials. And here you take two groups of patients, and you start by giving randomly. You distribute them randomly, and you take blindly. You give one of them the intervention, and the other you try to, and then of course you try to observe the outcome and come up with conclusions by comparing the experimental group to the control group. Okay, again, as mentioned, diving deep into each one of those would require lots of time, but this is just to touch base on the general different approaches. And of course, it would be, I will leave it to whoever excited about this to dig deeper and probably come up with a more detailed understanding of each of these approaches. Now, on top of the list is the meta-analysis approach, which is usually what we do is we we collect all the results of we extract actually the results of many different studies, and we reanalyze the whole thing and try to come up with a generalized conclusions out of all of these findings of the different studies. This is sits actually on top of the list when it comes to the validity score of the study design, as you can see here, and then followed by the randomized control, and then by the cohort study, and the least of the least would be the cross-sectional approach. Okay, so having said that, what design is better for you to follow? It depends on the research question, definitely, and it depends on the feasibility. Okay, so you may be excited and you may be interested actually to do a clinical trial. However, as you may know, clinical trials are very expensive. They require lots of logistical support. They require a huge team, of experts working on them, and it require lots of regulatory also supervision and approvals. So you may end up, which actually, like many do is look is the most feasible would be probably observational studies based again on your time, your the resources that are available. So you may end up looking at one of these designs of observational studies and work with that. Now, this doesn't mean that if we are excited about RCT, we don't try to do it, but it's completely the opposite. We would probably try to find all the support needed by collaborations and building bridges between even large consortiums around the globe that may help and support in that. Okay. Now I'll move to the second part. I don't know how long do I still have,
Yes.
Dr. Bashir?
You still have 20 plus minutes, so it's okay.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so this is good. That gives us plenty of time. So having described or gave a general overview about the different steps that you need to follow to properly design this roadmap of research question that you have intended to do. Still, this roadmap, as I mentioned, is in most of the cases you would face lots of challenges as you move on. Okay. And these challenges would, unfortunately, and again, many situations would lead to lose of focus of the researcher from the main impact that he wanted to achieve or he wanted to attain out of all of this research activity that he's done. And it's very normal, and it's very important to keep this in mind and to try to be focused and consistent until you really either contribute to that impact that you hoped to have from the beginning, or to achieve that impact fully and enjoy that satisfaction. Now, how to stay focused, how to capture the impact, how to monitor, are we going into the right direction or not? This is what we are gonna discuss in the rest of the time. But to start with, what is the research impact? So research impact is as defined by the Research Council of UK, is the contribution that excellent research makes to society and the economy. Society and the economy, and also research impact definitely affects many different aspects, including, of course, academia. Okay. Now, we're in the health sector, and all what we do is related to health. Does that mean that the impact that we're going to have or induce is mainly focused on health? No. In most, if not all of the cases, you will have a direct impact of your research and indirect impact. A direct impact would yes, be, for example, in developing a solution for a healthcare challenge, a medication, changing a policy, developing a better prevention plan, a better control plan for diabetes, etc. But the indirect impact would be training, because you're going to involve master students, PhD student, a technician working with you, a nurse working with you. So you have a training impact. You may have a technological. You may develop a technique or an innovation. So you may have a technological impact. You may have an economical impact if you patent your finding and that developed into a product. You may have income, etc. So you would have a direct impact and an indirect impact. And it's very important to keep this in mind, not during the research journey, very early on during the research journey. Okay. So here are some, some advices on how to plan, capture, and monitor your research. First of all, you need to, as mentioned, you need to understand the impact very early on during the research process. And this usually is better shaped with discussions. Okay, and discussions usually is with your colleague, with your mentor, if you're a student, with experts in the field. You may email them, you may chat with them, etc. So build this proper understanding of the impact that you want to have out of your research, and build it very early on, and keep in mind that there is a direct impact and indirect impact that you need to capture. This is very important also. Why? Because at the end, the impact that you want to have will be on the community, and will most likely be captured, and you hope that it will be captured by stakeholders, right? So you need to start, you have a better understanding for that, to be able to convey that message to the stakeholders, whether they are higher admins in a hospital, in the government, in the university, etc. You need to keep this momentum and this educative discussion for them, for them to better understand what you are heading and how valuable is the research that you're trying to do. Align your impact objectives with stakeholders. UAE has already set their research priorities. It's very important that you align yourself with these, because at the end, again, we are all serving this community, and we want to have the impact for this community. And this is where the higher authority has directed our campus for. So and these are very broad areas. It's very important to align yourself here, again, to capture their interest and even their support when needed. Focus on our strength. Diabetes. Most of us will work on, will try to do research around diabetes. We most likely won't able to solve diabetes for the whole world, but we may be able to solve challenges related to diabetes for our community. Okay. For example, I know autoimmune disorders hit here at a much younger age than any other population around the globe. Why is that? Genomics, do we have a proper understanding? Do we have clear understanding of how genomics is affecting the incidence of diabetes in our community? Our community is unique in that. So this is an area for for not only for strength, but we may lead the world for that. We may really add to the knowledge around diabetes while tackling our challenges. We have a unique environment. Do we really understand how environment may help in support or dissupport the control of diabetes, given the lifestyle that they may have impact on? Do we have proper understanding of that? Culture. We have also unique culture practices that may affect disease development and response to treatment. They may affect many different things around disease aspects. So do we really understand that? Is there a huge opportunity there? Yes, there's a huge opportunity to better use these opportunities and focus on them, because this there is where the real impact would our research may develop into a good impact for that we will help our community and our patients through. Digitalization. UAE is leading now the globe in digitalization, and definitely there's a huge opportunity there to involve digitalization in our research and add an extra level of excitement about what we're doing. So this is just an example, a snapshot of many different strengths that or areas we can focus on, and we really can lead the globe by doing that. Collaboration. Collaboration is a very important key element in if you really want your research to have a good impact. I can't think of any research done in solo without help and support from colleagues, from collaborators, would have a good impact or high impact. It's very rare. The norm is that if you impactful research come from collaborations from large groups, and there's a huge opportunity now not only to partner with your colleagues nationally but also globally. And there are many consortiums around almost every disease where you can get part with, and and widen your network and get support for your research. Especially we are handling a very complex problem like diabetes or cancer, etc. These are the numbers. This is a Nature paper published in 2019, screening millions of publications. And this is the conclusion. Very simple graph. If you look down at the x-axis, team size, so the larger the team size, the more the citations of the publications. Very simple. The larger team size, meaning larger collaboration, would translate into a much better impact for your research. And this is by numbers. This is a fact almost, okay? Personal experience, quickly, for the lack of time. This is a case where we have published in New England Journal of Medicine in 2019. Just to tell you the power of collaboration. The whole story started in the corridors of King Saud University. I met a colleague. He was telling me about this case in PICU. A kid, 2 years old, his situation was deteriorating because he has a huge inflammation. And the colleague wanted to report this as a case report in a journal with impact factor 2 or 3, and he wanted my advice. So I hardly convinced him to, because he was in a hurry, he wanted to publish this paper. So I hardly convinced him to please give us some time to better investigate this case. So we did the whole exome sequencing. We picked up the gene, and we realized that we cannot do it alone. So I've collaborated with people from Paris, from the States. We built a huge a consortium around the case. And the result is we saved the life of the patient by repurposing medication, as well as we published a paper in New England Journal of Medicine, #1 in the world. Be among the first movers. First movers are always at an advantage. And again, two quick examples. Tasuku Honju is the guy who discovered PD-1. And PD-1, as you may know, is, the antibody for PD-1 now is the target, is the best, actually, the golden medication for colon cancer, okay, anti-PD-1. Tasuku Hanju, he discovered that in early 2000s, actually late 1990, probably 99. In early 2000, his paper came in Nature, And I was at that time a student, and my mentor, because PD-1 plays a very important role in cancer and the same role in HIV. And I was at that time working in HIV. And the mentor advised to pick up some samples of our cohort and screen PD-1 for that, and just report that in an HIV cohort. And within 2 months, we published a paper in Nature Medicine, impact factor, I don't know, probably 18 or 19, within 2 months. Why? Because we were among the first movers. Another quick example is the ACE2 study. This is very early on during COVID. Uh, you remember that children were protected from developing severe disease compared to adults. And we, at that time, very early on, we came up with that idea that maybe ACE2, which is the receptor for the virus, is less expressed in the lungs of children compared to adults. And quickly, we screened the tissue of children, lung tissue of children and adults, and we have this paper published in a very nice journal. And we were among the first globally to report this observation. And again, because we were first movers, this publication had received huge amount of attention and impact in a very short period of time. Now, I would finish by, in a couple of minutes, giving you some tips of how to publish in high-impact journals. It may be helpful. The first and most is the novelty and originality of the study that you're doing. It has to be very novel and very original to be looked at high-impact journals. It has to have an impact on the domain. So these usually high-impact journals are very specialized in certain areas. So you have to have an impact on the domain. Weakness in a research approach or practice is not tolerated. Right away, it will be rejected by the editor. So it's very advisable to review that before any submission and probably get an expert eye on your piece before you sending it to a good journal. Present your figures nicely and without any errors. Irrelevant results, don't include them. Incomplete work, don't include it. Again, it's very irritating. And of course, silly mistakes, sometimes typos, etc. Very irritating to reviewers of those journals. So avoid going this direction, again, by getting the help and support of an expert eye. And try to discuss your findings and show confidence and expertise in the domain, and select this journal very carefully. Now, this is my last slide. I would finish by giving some key traits of what scientists should be or should have. Louis Pasteur has a very nice say. He says, "Chance favors prepared minds." Chance favors prepared minds. So good researchers would have a high level of curiosity and open-mindedness all the time, and this usually comes with lots of discussions, meetings with experts, conferences, readings, in building your own knowledge that would allow you to start criticizing things and come up with novel ideas and novel projects. Patience and perseverance. Research is not an easy journey. It's a very tough journey sometimes. So you need to be patient, and I would say perseverance is a very important key element for a researcher to be successful. Objectivity. It's very easy to get biased, especially if you're a junior scientist. So be careful. Criticize even yourself and your findings, and ask others to criticize. People may, may not like to be asked questions, whether presenting posters or presentations. On the contrary, call for questions and criticism, because this is how you're going to learn and how you're going to be able to shape your findings. Ambition and motivation. Without that, you won't get the impact you are hoping for. And focus, as I said, it's very easy to lose focus. Focus on the impact that you want to have. don't get satisfied with the publication and that's it. Take it further to see, or at least to contribute to the impact, and tolerance of change. Things may change as you move throughout this journey. Not only that, tolerance of failure. Again, it's the norm in research is that failure precedes success. So I hope I've covered some of some of the or highlighted some of the exciting part about research to motivate you to do research. And as I said, it's just a snapshot, and I hope you would open that would open venue for you to get more involved, collaborate, and enjoy the joy of research that we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Rabia, for a very informative presentation and for sharing your experience and all the tips to keep doing research. While we are waiting for questions, you know that as you mentioned, the research journey is a very long journey, and it is rewarding, of course, for researchers, but it takes time. So, and when you're done with your results and with your outcomes, publishing these outcomes, again, it's another kind of journey, right?
Absolutely.
As many people in the middle, they get tired. So what do you think is the best way to keep motivating people publishing or involved in the publication kind of process to make sure that they get the outcome outside and share it with everyone?
Well, excellent question, Dr. Abashair. Uh, yeah, I would say that this is true. Probably, 4 or 5 years back, people would complain of less resources or that would support them to go over writing the writing process and the publishing process. I believe nowadays with the huge amount of solutions, especially from AI, things are getting much more convenient and accessible, I would say. And of course, again, the power of collaboration and getting people involved would really help and facilitate this process. Getting people involved, meaning you don't need to do everything. Dividing into pieces and sharing is caring. You don't need to have the whole piece. Divide it and ask people to get to do this part or that part, and of course get the access to the resources that are nowadays becoming very accessible, as I mentioned, especially with the new tools. Now, there's huge discussion about the use of AI in research. I believe it's just a matter of matter of maturity of our understanding of these tools, and a matter of better, I would say, control of their use. I see huge advantage of using them, provided that they are used in areas, for example, like literature review, proofreading, helping in finding out resources. Definitely not in areas of course, result analysis or result development. So that's definitely not acceptable. But I mean, from what I know, most of the complaint is either during the literature review process, because people would have done doing the research and now they're stuck. The results are there and no support in transforming that into publication. If they use these tools properly and wisely with proper supervision, then this could be a solution. Beside, of course, collaboration and seeking the proper, advice from experts as well.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Rabia. And just you mentioned AI already because I will pick up the question that's related to AI. I think it is general question related to what is the proper use. It's a very general question, a proper use of AI in research idea. I think they're trying to say that, is it okay to use AI to develop a research idea for you? Do you think this is a proper use of AI?
Well, AI, I wouldn't develop, I wouldn't use it to develop an idea. I would come up
Okay.
with an idea and
Mm,
help and use AI to help me shape that idea.
yeah.
Um, I mean, again, it's not about having an idea and doing a research. It's about the whole excitement and joy of taking that journey. And this doesn't come from AI. It has to come from you. Uh, Unless we're talking about someone who wants just to do research as a step to get to some other benefit, I would say, which is not, I mean, the core topic of today. Research is again is an enjoyable journey, and I wouldn't give AI this mission. I would develop it myself, and then I would use all these tools wisely and without even exaggerating in that in the access to these tools. Because at the end, uh, without better understanding, without better digestion of the whole field and the gaps of knowledge, without without you putting your input into that, you will not ever get to the impact that you are hoping out of your research.
Yeah, thank you. We do have another, I think it is a general question again, somebody talking about the minimum sample size that are required to ensure statistical validity of an observational study analysis. I know there is a lot of elements would, kind of influence this, but, this is question for you if you want to answer. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Dr. Bashir, I mean, this
Yeah.
is depends on the research question, depends on
Yes. The
so that's
environment and yeah,
of
the
course.
recruitment and all of that. Yes. Like another question related to the impact part. Now, you as an expert, when you look at the publication or outcome, for you, you look at the impact based on the citation of this publication, for example, or based on the contribution of knowledge that a specific publication brought to the picture, or it is how it is influenced, some policies maybe or some guidelines. How do you evaluate the impact or how powerful the publication is?
It's all of that, Dr. Bashir. يعني if a work that is being published in high impact journal, that means it has been properly criticized with lots of experts' eyes and has been accepted. And also the number of citation that follows that work is a big indication of the acceptance of the scientific community for these findings. Now, sometimes you may not publish your findings in a huge, in a very high impact journal. However, your finding may have a very important impact on your community, right? Which may translate into a policy, a change in a policy, for example. And to me, that's even bigger impact than anything else.
Mm,
So there is no one scale of measuring impact. It differs depending on many different factors, including, of course, the field. The impact that you may measure in translational research may be different than measuring an impact in social sciences, for example, right? Like a research that may serve a community to educate them or to better educate them about a disease, or to raise their awareness, and come up out of that with the recommendations to the policymakers to modify policy or something. This research would to me, because it's directed to the community, would have a very high impact as well. Now, capturing that again, it differs, and it's not always 100% crystal clear. Okay.
Mm,
For
mm,
example, again, the PD-1 story. Okay.
mm,
PD-1 now, it's one of the markers of one of the I don't want to go into details about that,
mm,
but this story has developed into a medication. Now,
mm,
from the publication to the medication, many people has contributed to that. I've mentioned the work on HIV. A better understanding for this mechanism also contributed to development of that medication, even in a different field in cancer. So every one of us in research, you may not, what I'm trying to say here is you may not even see the impact, the direct impact of your research on spot. But later on, as you are building to knowledge,
mm.
the impact will be obvious, at least to you as a researcher, that you've contributed to this or that. And this, again, going back to the first thing that you mentioned, bring lots of satisfaction on the whole research process for the researchers.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know that you emphasize a lot on the collaboration, how important is that. But still, we receive a question about, like if you are you're not alone doing research for whatever reason is, and you want to use the publicly available database or like records or whatever, and you want to publish based on that. Do you think this type of research would have a chance to be published in Q1 journals? Just given this methodology.
Yeah, I mean, using public available data is very common, and many of these data is actually very powerful data. I know longitudinal studies that has dumped their data accessible for the public. It's huge. You can ask many different questions and come up with very exciting questions, and come up with very nice observations. There's no there's not nothing around that. It's on the contrary. The only thing is, collaboration doesn't come to you. You have to have this try to reach out to people,
Mm,
and you would be surprised how helpful and supportive people who's in the research community usually are. We usually email someone in the States at night, and in the morning we receive the answer. We don't know him, we just have read his publication. So reach out to people, and don't work in solo. No, I don't advise that at all.
Yeah, the last question, very basic, classical question. When we look at the publication, is it the number, like what the researcher should worry about, the number of publication or the quality of publications?
That's a good one. Of course, quality exceeds quantity, but you may need both actually for
Mhm,
sometimes, especially if you are planning to move forward in your career. You would need some recognition, and the number of publications sometimes is counted, like for promotion, for recognition,
mhm,
for grant application, because
mhm,
at the end, for your research, you need the support of the whole community, including, of course, governmental funding agencies, who would value the quantity of your how many papers you've published, beside, of course, the quality of your publication. So have a balance, I would say. It's very important. Don't go for quantity only, because I mean it's very risky, very dangerous. Keep a good balance. It's very important for your career.
Thank you. I think we'll stop here. Thank you very much, Prof. Rabia, for your time.
Pleasure,
And
no problem.
this phase of Create is the first phase where we discuss things as an overview concept. And we're planning to have more kind of focus discussions in the future. Thank you very much for being here with us today and wishing you all the best in your new position. And we're looking forward for more collaboration. So we'll
Inshallah,
continue
inshallah,
collaborating with each
inshallah,
other. Thank you
inshallah,
very
doctor.
much
Thank you
and
so
have
much,
a
and again, thank you for all the organizers. It was really enjoyable evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. And for us here, thank you very much for all our audience for staying till bit late. On Thursday, CME will be available after all the webinars, and make sure that you're looking for our emails to fill in an evaluation form so that you are in the list of the people who will get the CME's credits. Also, I'll be very happy to tell you that the next important step is we need to talk about ethics of research. And for that purpose, we will be having Prof. Suhail Al-Ahmed on the 20th of November, same time on Thursday. And that will be followed by another session by Prof. Suhail, just to highlight the importance of ethics in research. And we will be very happy to have all of you with us. Again, it gives me a great pleasure always to share with you our very successful program of Master of Science in Diabetes Management that we've been running for 6 years now. If you want to advance your career in diabetes, please make sure to scan the QR code in here to know more about our program and the registration process if you are interested. Also, it gives me a great pleasure to announce that the continuation of the Young Leaders Forum that's organized by Emiratis Diabetes and Endocrine Society, as well as the collaboration with the American Diabetes Association program, which discuss making diabetes technology work as a continuing education program. As the end, like final slide as usual, we're having our meeting and in February, Eric, and inviting all of you to be part of that. This is the 16th version of it. It is very prestigious meeting, and you will know more and share more in diabetes. Thank you again for everyone, your participation, your feedback, encouraging us to keep going in Create. Wishing you all a great weekend and see you next time. Bye-bye.